Hey there, my name is Derek. I am going to go over this PyPI package that I created. It's called Textglue. It's for basically when you want to compose HTML documents, often we'll use templates so that you can break up um, it, that you can write HTML and it's not just all in one big file and one big mess. So you'll break out different files. But this project called TextGlue is sort of designed to help you break a text file, for example HTML, into multiple files that you can edit and manage separately. So it helps you basically factor a text file. So I like it for HTML templates. So I wrote this library last year. I think I started last August, and for a couple months I worked on it a little bit. So there's basically two basic tags: a file tag. So this, if you include, this just includes the other file verbatim. It does do indentation, I believe. If the tag is indented, then it will indent every line when it includes it, just so it looks clean. And then this is a template, so this will recursively process this other file as a TextGlue template. Um, so that's the basic project. Like I said, when you're composing HTML, you don't want to have everything stuffed into one big file to edit, but you may still want to distribute it as one final document so that um, web pages, like, you can like have linked JavaScript and linked CSS, but if you put it all in one file, then it's easy to distribute, and then people can just one click on it, and then because everything's in one file, you don't have to run a server to distribute it, and it's just a little cleaner and nicer. Now, sometimes you can just have a local HTML file and it can have references, relative references, but sometimes that doesn't work, and it's just easier sometimes to distribute things in one HTML file. So this is a useful product for doing that. You don't have to use it just for HTML, but let me show you all a little bit how it works. So I wrote this tutorial and we're just going to follow this today. Introduction and basic use case. That's just what I've been explaining. So installation and setup. Why don't we, I'm going to use a command prompt. Now I often also use git bash, or this is just a Mingwin shell. So this is like a GNU bash shell on Windows. So you type Linux commands in a Linux, or you type commands in a sh style or bash shell, but you can use it on Linux. You can also use something like Windows Subsystem for Linux, but we're just gonna show this on a Windows command shell. So I'm gonna reuse the same folder. So cd um, documents, and then I have TextGlue demo already, and we're just gonna delete everything. Forgetting the Windows commands. Okay, so this is so we have an empty folder And then we can pull the folder up here. Oh, uh, this is a trick in Windows. If you want to open the current folder, you can do Explorer dot. So this is the current folder, Textglue demo. I just have a random name as my Windows name, but anyway. So with we're just gonna follow the tutorial here. Textglue templates tutorial. So we're skipping this step. We're already in our Textglue demo folder. Um, we're You can set up a Python virtual environment, which is super easy to do. All that does is it installs your this uses a Python package, so it installs it within a specific folder, so you aren't messing up your global Python. Um, you don't have to do that, so we're just gonna try and do that without. So if we skip this virtual environment, then we just have this command python-m pip install textglue. So python-m pip install textglue. Let's see. Okay. So one quick second. I am Googling how to upgrade a pip package. Okay. So we are gonna upgrade. What? Oh. Install textglue dash dash upgrade. Okay. So that upgraded um the Textglue package on my system. So yeah, let's go back to our tutorial. So now I didn't have the upgrade step here, but you can either initialize an empty project with Textglue in it. Let's do that first. So again, confirming this folder is empty, so we do Textglue init. And then we just have a textglue.json file. Okay, this is what's in the textglue.json file. And then we have a readme file. So it's almost empty. But we're gonna okay. Now let's do this. Textglue demo. The demo has a lot more features. So we just ran the command textglue demo, and then here let's do explore. Okay, so we have this textglue JSON file. Edit in Notepad. So this is specifies your source directory, your output directory. If you do the current directory, then it won't delete it, but you can also use another one, like if we do www, we could do that. This is a prefix of files that it calls it ignore, but basically it won't automatically render anything with that prefix. So TextGlue either if a file ends with a .glue extension, it will process that as a template and then remove the .glue extension. So for example, in our source, we have index.html.glue. So then this is what the template looks like here. We have these references to our name, to a viewport. This is just a little snippet, so this makes it easy to reuse that. So we go to HTML viewport, and then we can see what that actually is. So this is just a tag that, this is nice on mobile devices. It adjusts the zoom. I sort of like it. So meta name equals viewport, content width equals device width, initial scale 1.0. So in our template file, we just reference this, so it will include this verbatim. So let's continue the tutorial, and all we do now is we're going to do Textglue render. Okay, so that had some output. Rendering template folder source to dot or period, which is current directory. It previewed the rendered template, said a static file, so the file readme.md was just copied verbatim into the output folder. So let's see what we have. So in this directory, we have index.html. So that came from our index.html.glue file. And let's see what's inside that. So type index.html. So yeah, so we see the file now has everything in it. So if we look at the template, this is the original template here. So we're just referencing these files, but then when it's rendered, the stuff gets added into the file. So inside of title, it says Textglue demo, which if we go back here and go to name, that's where this was populated from. So it's just rendering the template. Then we have our viewport tag. Then let's see. So then it includes file css.style.css. It puts that in there. So again, if we go in our source CSS, and then we edit it in Notepad, so that's just, it just copied that into there. But notice it added the indentation. So if you indent the tag in our, if you indent the tag, it'll indent every line. So it looks pretty. So then it included the CSS directly in there. And then we have two other templates, body and footer. So the body, so body, okay, if you notice here, so this says file, and then it has a file. So these don't recursively render anything, but these two recursively render templates. So if we go back to body.html, and we look inside this, then it actually includes these JavaScript files at the end. So util.js and main.js. So if we go to our source and then we go to JS, then this is what util.js has. It has some helper functions: listen, cancel, clear event, status, ID is just a shorthand for document.getElementById, text. It adds, well, so for this text function, you give it an ID of an element in your HTML page. So we use the text function here in status. So if we call status on something, it will do console.info, which shows up in your browser's JavaScript console, but then also in the status div, let's see. So body HTML, our status div right here, status goes here. So let's actually show this working. So if we do python -m http.server, so that runs a local server right here. We actually don't have to do this, so let's just kill the server. Because we rendered it all into HTML, it will work just double clicking this. So Textglue demo. So right here, this is our status div. So when we call status, I'm going to press Control Shift I. So I can type functions into my JavaScript console. So I can do status s, and then you see how it replaced that status info. But I don't really like how this looks. We can make this look a little bit better. So status div, we have some classes. Let's see. So I'm going to close Notepad, and we are going to open up a legit editor. I've been using Atom lately. I don't really have any strong preferences between stuff like Atom, Sublime, uh, VS Code. All those are great, simple editors. I mean, I use Vim a lot, but this is nice if you don't want to have to think so much. But okay, so yeah, if we open Atom, we can do open folder, and then so documents, Textglue demos, open folder. Okay, it was already open, so didn't change anything. So again, here's our index.html.glue file, and then it includes these other files. There's the body. So we have util.js. This is where our status function is that I just called. So when we did status test, it first is console info.test, so that shows up here, and then it also text. So the text function takes an ID and then a string. So then we get the element status div, and then we clear it. We do inner HTML equals blank string, and then we create a new text node and add that. So, but again, I don't necessarily like the style of this here. So let's change this up a little bit. Let's add some new CSS classes. So we'll just do a CSS class mono, and then that'll be font family mono space, and then let's do dot padding 8px 16px. Let's call this pad 816. So the way I use CSS, it's nice to do really simple CSS classes. So then you can, this is just a very modular way to edit it. But let's go back to our body. So our status, so we can do mono, then pad. So pad 816. So that adds our two CSS classes. Now let's go back here. Textglue render. Okay, that runs it. Yeah, doing this. So yeah, now our status div, it's has some padding, so that's a little nicer. Now I sort of want it bold as well. So we go in our style.css file, so we can have a class.bold, and How do we do bold in CSS? I forget. Font, like variant? Bold CSS. Font weight. Oh, okay. I can't believe I forgot that. Font weight is bold. So the bold CSS class will now apply this rule font weight bold. And then we go back into our body. And then we just do bold. And then save that. So now we have a few classes. Float right. FFF-000. This means foreground color is white, which is FFF. Background color is 000, black. Mono, that's font family monospace, pad 816. It pads the element with 8 pixels and 16 pixels, and then it's bold. So these are all the changes we're doing here to the status div. Let's re-render our Textglue document. Now if we want, we could actually do, let's see, is it control? Okay. How do you open a terminal? So we can do Atom open terminal. So you have to install a package. I'm not going to do that right now, but it doesn't look too hard. Um, anyway, did we re-render it? Let's see. Uh, well, let's just find it here. Close that. We have 2 versions of this. Okay. So yeah, our status div, okay, it's now bold. I like that look a little bit better. That's so what if we do status, then we don't put a string? Okay, I mean JavaScript automatically does some typecasting. Okay, so cool. Um, and we can do Control U, and then we can view the source. So again, this single document gets rendered from all these files. We have 2 JavaScript files. We have 1 CSS file. We have 5 HTML temp. They're called HTML, but they're just sort of little templates. Like even name doesn't have any HTML in there. href is um, our link. So yeah, we can do a little bit more of this. We can style our links. So we could do like we could use our existing classes, and then let's try bold. So now if we just refresh, let's see. If we just refresh this, it doesn't change it. But then if we do Textglue render, okay, now refresh. Okay, now our links are in black and white. Oh, anyway, um, I don't really like that. Let's just keep the bold. So yeah, again, the reason why one line per rule, or maybe a couple here, is nice in CSS is because it makes it not project specific. So when you apply a CSS rule, then you can see exactly what it's doing here. But anyway, so that's the Textglue project. I think it's really fun. We can check out the source code of the project itself. So if we go back to the tutorial, this is a link to the PyPI package. It has everything there, and then this is the link to the source code. So this is within my mono repo, derekmc.gitlab.io. Then let's just look at the text with source. It's sort of a mess because this is regexes. This is the first PyPI package I ever wrote. I published other packages to NPM, but this is the first PyPI package. So it's just a lot of regex stuff. Um, I sort of, but altogether it's like less than 500 lines, this entire package, and a lot of that is the demo itself. Like I have the source code for the entire demo here within the single Python file. I couldn't being my first PyPy package. I didn't figure out how to factor um, it into different Python files, so it's just all in one Python file. Again, the single file thing is clutch. No, it's just an easy workaround, and because I'm lazy, I'm trying to figure that all out. So, demo files like here are all the files for the demo getting initialized. So it's just a list of tuples, of Python tuples. So the name of the file and then the string. So then we have Python string literals with the triple quotes. And yeah, all the files are here in the demo. Gen page file. Okay, this is part of my rendering functions. Gen templates. It just uses regular expressions to find um, these template patterns. So like if to find this pattern, it just finds this pattern and then it um, keeps track of all the text before, then it adds new text. Then it has to do like indentation and stuff. It's all very fun. I mean, I don't know how. I like to have clean code enough for what I'm doing. So this isn't a huge project. It's only 500 lines. So I am like using globally scoped config variables basically. I mean, I do for 500 line project, it's sort of impressive what I do. I do read a config file. The config file determines the input and output directories for the rendering process. Um, yeah, and again, we do support template arguments. So if we go to the footer, these links have arguments for how the text of the link or the name and the URL. And we can make it all fancy here, but yeah, this was a real fun project. I think it's really useful. I mean, there are ways to package. I'm sure there's 1,000 different tools on NPM to package either static rendering. I mean, I've used Pelican static rendering with Python. Usually, static rendering systems are more like for blogs and stuff, like building websites, not just this is more like for uh, com- putting everything into one file. So there's tools like Webpack that might do something similar in terms of that's a JavaScript tool, but that's more for like server side. This is a static version where you just run once and then you get a single file. Everything's in this one file. Um, like on even on mobile devices, you just have this file and then it'll run. You can run JavaScript. You can distribute apps like web apps like this. It's actually pretty cool. And with HTML5, you can do so much in JavaScript. So if you do use HTML5 features, like you can access gyroscope, accelerometer, you can access camera APIs with HTML5. There's just so much these days. I think even like web XR extended reality stuff, so you could do VR stuff just in like a single HTML file. Um, so HTML5 is incredibly powerful. You can build apps this way, and it can be just amazing, really. But that's going to be it for today. Thanks for checking this out. This is a long video for people who want a more in-depth look at this, and I hope you all have a great day.